This video is brought to you by FLOWER Magazine. See the description of this video to subscribe now and receive 6 copies each year for more beautiful interior design, flowers, and gardens.
Hi, FLOWER Magazine. This is Alexa Hampton from Mark Hampton. I am the decorator who had the great honor of doing the dining room in this year's show house. My inspiration for the dining room really started with my desire to create a custom wallpaper with my beloved collaborators at Gracie Wallpaper. And I knew I wanted something very sexy and unexpected. So after giving myself that mandate, there was really only one answer, and that was tiger skin walls. I am a huge lover of animal skin. I subscribe to the club that says animal skins are neutrals. But of course, they're so much better than neutrals. It took us months of designing to get our pattern just where we wanted it so that it didn't look flat and it didn't look commonplace and where it had some sparkle. I can imagine that some people hearing that a room is going to be floor-to-ceiling tiger might think, oh dear, that's not a great decision. That's a little over the top, Alexa. But I feel like in the history of interior design there have been some incredibly well done animal skin rooms that don't include Studio 54 or some weird den of iniquity. So that was my call to arms. And one of the really fun things about the actual paper is that it is entirely custom made for the room. So there's not a repeating line. There is, no aspect of that paper was printed out or digitally realized. It was all hand painted for the room. When working with such a big design gesture as tiger walls, it was incumbent upon me to mix in a color that would temper it, that would ground it, make it more serious, and say that would telegraph the fact that I was trying, that the room itself was going to be an elegant room and not a boom boom room. I thought rich, dark greens would create a sophisticated addition. I am always influenced by Givenchy and his houses in France. His quote-unquote Givenchy green of his house in Paris is a great favorite of mine, and it kind of reeks of serious sophistication. So that immediately was the color I wanted to go to temper the room and to make it calm and make it more adult. I also love brown furniture, as it is so ingloriously called, and sexy browns are practically a perfect match for tiger skin. I mean, anything that is a natural wood tone blends really, really well with that. So there is the desire to have a lot of brown furniture in a dining room because all of those big pieces are so commonly wood. So then, of course, you have to make sure that you don't do all brown furniture. So I knew I wanted a great mahogany table. When I do a dark brown dining room table, I frequently like to break it up with white chairs so that there's not a big black hole in the middle of the room. So I used Queen Anne flavored dining room chairs with white frames. And you think, white framed chairs in a tiger skinned room. How does that work? So then I thought to myself, okay, I need the contrast of the chairs to go with the table, but I can't have the chairs popping out of the room as though there's some sort of informal element and too pale. So I needed very luxurious fabrics to put on to them. One of my favorite things to do with dining chairs is to have the workaday fabric on the seat and the interior back of the chair, because that's going to get the most use and the most banging around. And then to put the more decorative and sometimes more fragile fabric on the back. There are 2 very good reasons why I like to do this. One is that the fragile fabric, the big decorative moment fabric, can tend to be more expensive. If you're only using it on the fabric back, that cuts down your yardage requirement enormously. You're getting your big decorative moment on the back of the chairs in a small quantity. The other reason I like to do this is because one's experience of a dining room for at least 75% of one's life is just walking by and seeing the backs of the chairs. I mean, there are only so many meals in the day, and not all of them are taken in the dining room proper. So all the rest of the time, you're passing by the dining room, and you don't just want to see a bunch of solid color pulled up to an empty table. It seems forlorn and sad. So that back fabric can really do tons of heavy lifting for you. It makes the room decorative, it makes it look decorated, and it makes it look tended to even when the room is not set for dinner. And that's when it's at risk of looking its most sad. This house in particular has these incredible tall windows and a fireplace in the dining room too. Woo! Such luxury. Those windows, all I had to do was put beautiful curtain panels hanging from a metal pole. Anything at that height was going to look luxurious. So I felt very lucky to have that. And then we used a Roman blind underneath the curtain panels just to add warmth in a space like a dining room where you have the glass of the windows, you have the glass of the glassware, you have the metal of the cutlery, you have the porcelain of the plates, and you've got all these chair legs scraping on ground. It can get very noisy. Along with the kitchen, it's one of the most acoustically sensitive spaces in a house. So they do need those layers of fabric. They need carpet. In this case, it's an area rug, a beautiful area rug. They need their curtains, and they need plush fabrics wherever they can go. So you have a modern-minded table with the aforementioned chairs that look Queen Anne, with neoclassical consoles. So there's a spread of influences, so it hopefully looks more like a real room than a showhouse room. Then I had a wonderful antique sideboard from a local antique store. We had Nazmial Carpets lend us a gorgeous carpet for the room. We had my wonderful friends at the Shade Store making incredible curtains from a cravat fabric. So they have this gorgeous olive green curtain fabric that we used. Samuel & Sons gave us a delicious tape trim, a really chunky graphic tape trim. And Clarence House gave us this incredible fabric called Dragon Empress that we used on the backs of the chairs. The mantelpiece in the room is one from my collection with Chesneys. The lighting is all from Visual Comfort. The sconces in the room are from my collection with Visual Comfort, but the gorgeous chandelier is from the Ralph Lauren collection at Visual Comfort. I used beautiful purple linen placemats from a company for whom I designed, but these were not my designs. These were placemats that came out of my own house. They are purple waxed linen in a cool shape. The Replacements Limited gave us gorgeous colorful plates that we used with purple glass, I love purple glass. I cannot get enough of purple glass. And I took a painting out of my living room at home by the incredible artist Mark D'Alessio, a painting that I commissioned in 2014. And it is a big, beautiful painting of the Palazzo Corsini in Florence. And that got placed above the mantelpiece. And then across from the mantelpiece, above the antique sideboard, is a wonderful monumental photograph by a dear friend who is a fine art photographer named Celia Rogge, R-O-G-G-E. And in this room, which was very traditional in sensibility, I used a photograph of an interior of a museum in Germany that was very stark and structured, and it had a big golden bust in the image, and that had a fun tension with the rest of what was going on in the room. I cannot possibly pick out a highlight of the show house because the show house was so filled with gorgeous rooms. From Barry Dixon's gorgeous library with its beautiful paneling to Suzanne Kasler's soft symphony of a living room to Michelle Nussbaumer's incredible Mongiardino, Ode to Mongiardino entry, Corey Damon Jenkins, my dear friend, downstairs in his 2 rooms. When I walked into Kathy Kincaid's pink bedroom and I looked down and I saw a Khotan rug that I had been looking at the night before online and was considering buying for my office. And I walked in the next day and looked at it and I was like, this cannot be. It was such a funny coincidence, and it just underscored the fact that I feel like all of the designers participating in the house had some kind of common vein that we shared. I don't know what it was, I can't articulate it, but I think we were all feeling very inspired, and as has been said by a lot of people, it was a very maximalist house. It's the house of wallpaper. It's just abundant and joyful. And how could you not be when you're working in such a beautiful building? Peter Block did an incredible architectural design. And of course, Margot Shaw is fearless leader extraordinaire. And I think everyone who participated, myself for sure, was very grateful that everything had hung together and that we had been so well taken care of by FLOWER Magazine. By the time we left, we knew we were part of something special.